Good afternoon. I want to start out by, as usual, by thanking you for checking out one of these videos. I appreciate you joining me on a gloomy December day, and I hope when this video meets your eyeballs that it's an equally dreary day on your end, because who wants to be sitting in front of their TV or device or however you receive video content on a day that is better spent at the beach. So what I want to talk about today is in response to an inquiry that I received in response to a video that I recorded a few weeks back and just recently posted. And I don't know, how many of these videos any one of you have seen, but if you've seen a few, you're probably getting a better idea of, what makes me tick. And one issue that I have not deliberately avoided, but I haven't covered because it's just not really of all that much of an interest to me, is racism. And I think that based on some of the other videos that you have seen, if you've seen any others, that you probably have a pretty good idea why I haven't talked about it, because it's not something that I feel passionate about. I do have opinions about it. I like to talk about what I like to talk about, but certainly if you have any questions, I'm happy to talk about what you want to talk about. I'll talk about anything, pretty much. But in an earlier video, I identified myself as Cuban American. I don't think I had ever done that before. So this person was curious to know if Cubans are racist, particularly against black people. And I did answer in my YouTube channel, but I did decide that I should also record a video where I can expand on the things I talked about there, but maybe not necessarily, but talk about it more in depth. I do have a lot to say about it. I'm going to try to be brief. I'm going to try to cover everything that I've thought about saying, but it's inevitable that I may miss a few things. But anyway, Cuban Americans, Cubans, I believe, are no more racist or any less racist than probably any other ethnicity or race, whatever. I did not grow up. I was not born in Cuba, so I'm certainly not an authority on this. All I can share with you are my personal experiences, and I did grow up, I did a lot of my growing up in South Florida, in the Fort Lauderdale area, which is about a half hour away from Miami, and South Florida is just crawling with Cuban people, a lot of Cuban people. So I came across many, I became friends with many, and, I don't think that any of them really said anything that I can recall that I believe was very racist against black people or racist in general. There were jokes made and that sort of thing, but nothing really stands out in my memory. But let me just talk about racism in general, particularly racism towards black people, because this person did say racism towards black people. Racism, but towards black people in particular. So I'm going to try to hone in on that. I was born and raised until about the age of 12 in New York City, specifically Brooklyn. When I went to school, there was very few black people, very few. And by the time I was in school, I think I already knew what all the bad words were, and my mother taught me not to say them. think she ever taught me not to say the N-word. So after I started school, it was a word I learned, and I came home and I repeated it. And my mother didn't fly off the handle. She didn't freak out about it. But she overheard me say it to someone. She wasn't in another room, and I heard her call out and say, "You are not to use that word. That is not what you call them." She probably told me to call them black people. Now they're called African American, which I think is kind of, insulting, really. It's like calling white people that have been in this country for generation after generation after generation, to call them European Americans. They're white, and they're called white. And when you check off on applications or you fill out certain forms, sometimes you're asked that question. So why would black people be called African American when they have been here for decades? And maybe they came from the Caribbean. Maybe they're Bahamian or Jamaican or Haitian, and maybe all their ancestors as far back as they can find were from those countries. So it doesn't make sense. But anyway, I digress. I want to stick to my experience before I get into a philosophical discussion about what I believe racism is or isn't. But I was stunned by her reaction. I was so young, I can't really remember it that well. But ever since then, I still remember that experience, and I never used that word anymore. It didn't become part of my vocabulary. But I'm sorry to say, I hear people say it. Not a lot, but it does come up, and that's why I believe there is some racism, but it's more or less. I don't know how to put my finger on it. When I say it's racism, I'm saying it's just people say negative things about other races, ethnicities, but it's really not hate. And it's really not anything that's going to lead to any type of violence or mistreatment. That's what I would like to think. It doesn't make it right, but what I'm saying is it's not as awful as it's painted to be. That's my opinion. But anyway, because I am as pale as a ghost, and because I don't speak Spanish very well and choose not to, because I grew up in the melting pot of Brooklyn and didn't know any Cubans, I'm very Americanized, and I blend in. So I get to hear a lot of things that people wouldn't say to minorities, because they assume I'm one of them. They assume I'm a white guy. And a lot of people don't find out that I'm Cuban for a very long time. And it's not that I'm ashamed of it. I just don't make a big deal of it. Just like I don't make a big deal that someone is black, or someone is Muslim, or someone is Jewish. It's not important to me. It's just what's in your head and how you treat me that matters to me. So anyway, I remember in my early 20s working as a school bus driver, and all the bus drivers were predominantly women and black. And I was the token white guy, really young. I wouldn't say the token. There was, some of us who were not black still were minorities. There was a woman, she was white, but she was Muslim, but it was mostly black men or women, and mostly women who were driving. There was a white lady who used to park her bus, get on my bus, never encouraged her. I probably really should have clobbered her. I should have let her have it. I should have said something really nasty to her. But the reason why I don't do that is not because I tolerate it, because I really want to know what people think. And if you give them hell, you shut them up, but they're still brewing this nasty vitriol inside. So bring it. Let me hear it. So I never really was too nasty. I listened to her. I rejected the things she would say. I don't even remember what I was saying to her, what she was saying to me in response, but I know that she would often frown and just knew that I wasn't buying it. And what bothered me looking back is that she believed, even though I wasn't white, maybe she believed I was, well, I'm white as far as my skin color goes, but she believed that she could talk to me about it because I would be in agreement with that sort of thing, because I was one of her. No, I'm not. Up here, I'm not one of her. I'm not, I don't believe that sort of thing. So around that time, I made friends with a black man, and, after a while, Burles started developing some feelings for him. And when I finally decided to overlook the fact that, I had this preconceived notion that I needed to be, I could be friends with black people, but I need to be with my own kind in terms of being in a romantic relationship. And I finally got over that, and I figured, meeting someone is hard, and developing feelings and feeling that they may have those reciprocal feelings is even harder to find. So I went for it, and I made my feelings known, and I was disappointed. And his attitude, it took a long time to get at why he rejected me. And when I found out, it was because he said that he waited around for me. He wanted me to make a move. He did everything to facilitate my making a move, but I just didn't seem interested, and so he moved on. And he didn't feel the way he did about me earlier in our friendship, so I blew it. And then I met another friend who was basically a carbon copy of him. They looked so much alike. And but I never developed any feelings for him. And I later found out that at one point he had feelings for me, but he decided not to really pursue anything. But we were good friends for a very long time. And in my adult life at this time, I don't have any black friends, but I talk to black people. I have nothing against them. I have nothing against anyone who's different than me. I see it as an opportunity to learn about their culture. I do believe, and this is where I may get a little controversial, I do believe there are stereotypes. Some of them are ridiculous, like all black people eat watermelon or fried chicken. That's a really old stereotype. But I know that people do that. They tend to stereotype. And I don't mind it so much. Again, I don't think it's a hate thing. I think it's just a way of people just kind of categorizing and putting people into little boxes and saying, this is this type, this is that type, and having an idea of what to expect. But, every race has people that break the mold, that do things differently. I believe that. So while you can expect certain things from certain types, it's not set in stone, and you shouldn't really act on what your preconceived notions are about someone until you really get to meet them and talk to them. One thing that I had said in response to the inquiry was that throughout my life, if I've encountered any racism, it's actually been, any racism towards blacks, it's been actually, believe it or not, more than any other group, it's been from the gay community, and they probably don't want to hear me saying this, and they'll vehemently deny it, but it's been my experience, and I have a theory on that, and it's only a theory. I could be completely wrong, but the gay community is a subculture of not just gay. You know, they can be black and gay, Hispanic and gay. They could be Jewish and gay, Muslim and gay. I've met Jewish gay people, Muslim gay people, of course Christian gay people. And they grow up not only being rejected for perhaps being black or being Muslim or being Jewish, they're also rejected for being gay. And they have to, live in the closet. And actually more people are being out now and coming out, and things have gotten better, thankfully. But, growing up, it wasn't always that way. And I think that gay people so desperately want acceptance because earlier in life, they were rejected not only by the people in schools and neighborhoods at work for being gay, they were also rejected by your own family. Imagine the gravity of that situation, because you may be black, but your mom's black, and your dad is black, and your siblings are black, and they're not going to reject you for being black. They themselves are black. But when you are gay in your family, you may have like a distant gay uncle that nobody wants to talk to, but that's it. The rest of your family is not. And gay people have been thrown out on the street, and worse. So I think it's their way of feeling just a little bit more superior to another group of people when they have been so long, have been treated so poorly by their own family. Their own family may also be racist towards black people. Maybe it's a way of gaining favor with someone in the family who's prejudiced towards black people. I'm not making excuses. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying it's a theory as to why gay people sometimes are. And I have some of my gay friends, most of my gay friends are not. But I have some gay friends that have said, use the N-word, I don't like it, I never respond to it. But most of them have embraced all races and colors. And that's the way it should be. So anyway, I'm happy to talk about this some more. Hopefully I made my position clear. I'm sure I've left out some things that I'd like to talk about. But just continue asking me questions, and I'm sure we'll hash it all out that way. So I appreciate your time. Thank you for joining me again as always. I thank you for watching, listening, and agreeing, hopefully. And if you don't, continue watching until you do. I usually strike the gavel at the end. It's at the other on the other side of the tree, so excuse me. And now we're done. Thanks.
I can listen to those I disagree with, but I don't expect most to do the same. What I would expect is for those of us who disagree to simply say so and walk away, rather than attempt to shout someone down in a confrontation prone to escalate and only serve to foster racial tension. In this country, speech is protected, even offensive speech. And while anyone can say most anything, anyone can choose to ignore speech they disagree with. And I believe that without an audience and with express alternate points of view, offensive speech is marginalized and all but forgotten.